All right, everyone, welcome back to another edition of Stirring It Up with Tierra Monique, Kitchen Table Talk. And on today's political news segment, we're discussing Black America and the COVID vaccination. Would you take it? Listen to this and let's talk about it on the other side.
And worry about this vaccine. So let's talk about this with CNN race and equality reporter DeKel Terry Ellis and Dr. Yves DeRosso. He is the chairman of the Department of Emergency Medicine at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York. Welcome to you both. Dr. DeRosso, let me start with you. You've had your first injection. Tell us about it and what you're experiencing, if anything, remarkable.
Yes, I had my first injection on Monday. There was some minor soreness in the arm. Currently, I'm feeling absolutely well. I'm here in New York City. I shoveled my yard on Thursday with absolutely no discomfort whatsoever. So I think it was very important for me to do that, to show others that the vaccination is safe, especially in communities that are reluctant, minority communities. This is especially important because we've had 3 times the death rate from COVID.
DeKel, let me come to you because you've done some reporting on some of that reluctance, and there's this Kaiser Family Foundation study that's out recently that's getting a lot of attention that details why some Black Americans specifically are reluctant or hesitant about the vaccine. What did you find?
Yeah, so what this Kaiser study shows us, Victor, is that 35% of Black Americans do not want to go out right away and get the vaccine when it becomes widely available next year. Their key concerns here are possible side effects from taking the vaccine, possibly getting COVID-19 from taking the vaccine, or just a general distrust in all vaccines. We also know that other studies have shown us that Black Americans are largely concerned about the nation's history of racism in medical research. And so for that reason, they don't want to go out right away and get the vaccine. They don't want to, quote unquote, be the guinea pigs for the vaccine trials either. But there was one sign of hope. The same study found that 85% of Black Americans say that they would trust vaccine information from their personal doctor. So that means that family care doctors may have to be the ones to convince people that the vaccine is safe and effective.
Well, let's come back to that in a moment. Dr. DeRosso, let me come to you on this. We've talked about the Tuskegee experiment where for decades Black men in Alabama were given syphilis without their knowledge, without their permission to study it and what the impact on them. Dozens of them died, some went blind, they spread it as well. As horrific as that is, there are other contemporary examples of why Black people likely are skeptical. There's this 2015 study from the American Journal of Public Health that details the biases. Black people are kept waiting longer for assessment. Healthcare professionals spend more time with white patients than patients of color. They speak to patients with more dominating or condescending tone. There may not be one historical event that explains this, but just the compound impact of years of the incremental slights that Black people have experienced from the healthcare industry that could be more illuminative. What's your take?
Yeah, so I guess in a nutshell, what you're describing is implicit bias, and that's something that we've been dealing with in the healthcare environment. I want to find a silver lining around this, and I think for the first time, we're having meaningful conversations about it. It's a confluence of what's happening in the broader society with the racial tensions, et cetera. It's all coming together. And hopefully that silver lining is that we're going to continue to have these conversations and be open and honest about it. And how do we deal with implicit bias? And you have to recognize it. You have to recognize it to be able to deal with it. And we're doing a lot of that teaching in the medical profession with medical students, with physicians, and we hope to move past this. So when a minority is reluctant to deal with the healthcare system, we have to acknowledge that this does exist and why they're reluctant. And if we don't do that, they'll never trust us and we'll never be able to collaborate with them in terms of getting this vaccination.
Yeah, it's important for every optometrist, gynecologist, podiatrist, physician's aide to know that the interaction with people who are skeptical right now because they don't believe that this may be in their best interest, those exchanges, those interactions are influential on will they get the vaccine over the next year or so? Nikhil, let me come back to you. This study also found, the Kaiser study I'm talking about, 48% of black respondents say they were not confident that the needs of black people were considered by the developers. I know you covered the Dean of Morehouse School of Medicine, Dr. Montgomery, and Dr. Fauci as well, pushing that there are black professionals in the room on the research and development teams of this vaccine.
Yeah, so I think that when you saw black leaders out this week actually getting the vaccine during live events, that was very notable. You had the nurse in Long Island, Sandra Lindsay, who received the vaccine during a live event, which was administered by a black doctor. We had another black doctor in New York who received the vaccine earlier this week, and he came out afterward and said that he hoped that by him getting the vaccine that he would be influencing other black Americans to get the vaccine as well. The dean of the Morehouse School of Medicine, also very notable, she received the vaccine during a live event yesterday, and she came out yesterday, to your point, and said that black doctors and scientists have been helping with develop this vaccine. They've also been on the CDC and FDA advisory boards approving this vaccine. So I think the hope is that given that black people have been a part of this process, that will help to build the confidence in black Americans as well.
Yeah, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett is one of the developers who's leading some of the research, one of the high-profile members of the team who's been on this network. Dr. DeRosso, what are the ethics behind matching the disproportionate spread of COVID in the black community, the disproportionate number of hospitalizations, the disproportionate number of deaths, with a disproportionate distribution of the vaccine, insofar the communities that have been hit harder should get more access or eligibility for these vaccines?
Yeah, so the word I'm hearing around in the healthcare community is equity. And I'm happy to be hearing that. And I think that it's really putting a light on all of the things that we mentioned, that we have to get these vaccinations to points of where people of color live and reside and can access the system. We have to make it very easy for them to access it, even if it's not in the physician's office. But still, the problem remains that they have to be willing to take it. The other thing I would add to all of this is, at least for the Pfizer study that's been done, when I pulled the literature on that, 9% of the participants in the studies were black. And if you add another, 15 or to 20% or so were Latinx. And I think that's Hispanic descent. I think that's very important to let them know that these patients in the studies did very well, and there were no deaths attributable to the vaccination.
Nikhil, I want to wrap it with you. You talked about the trust in one's personal physician. An element we've not discussed that I've seen is the role of the church. We saw the dean of the Morehouse School of Medicine get the vaccine, but how influential would it be if it were the senior pastor of a mega church in Atlanta or Baltimore or Oakland or Chicago? And are you hearing anything about welcoming in the faith community in getting the vaccine and helping to convince some skeptical people?
Absolutely. Actually, there was a group of prominent black pastors who met with Dr. Fauci earlier this week to learn more about the vaccine and to discuss rolling it out to the black community. The hope is that they will connect with the nation's top health leaders, get all they can get as far as information, and then educate the black community more about why the vaccine is safe and necessary. Black people will be looking to their trusted leaders to not only take the vaccine first, but tell them all that they know about the vaccine as far as, what the side effects are, as far as, what the efficacy is. And so I think this is very important and will be crucial moving forward in getting people to actually step out and get vaccinated. I also want to note that you have had HBCUs, sororities and fraternities who are also wanting to be on the front lines to helping spread the word about this vaccine. So it's going to take a concerted effort by all the people that are trusted in the black community to come together and educate the black community about the vaccine to make people feel more comfortable.
Nikhil, Terry Ellis, and Dr. Eve DeRosso, I appreciate the conversation. Thank you both. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be well, be safe.
All right, guys,
too.
looks like we have a lot of thinking to do. You know what I'm saying? But we have to do the right thing. So, thanks for sitting down with us for another edition of Stirring It Up with Tira Monique Kitchen Table Talk. If you did enjoy this segment, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, bye.